When the protagonist of this story first opened her eyes, she did not even realize where she was. Only after a few, the girl realized that she had been reborn in another world. Even though it was hard for my mother, she was still able to completely shower me with love, a warmth that I never received in my past life. For the first time, I had a real family. But it couldn't last for long, tells the girl. Gradually, her mom began to get very sick. "Chloe, listen carefully. You need to go to your father," unexpectedly informed Mom one day. Of course, such news did not like the little girl much. After all, the girl thought she didn't have a daddy. "No, Chloe, your father is alive. He's Prince Hard Reinhardt. In the second drawer of the bedside table is a note with the address of his mansion. I gave the money to Uncle Sandy, so he will take you away from here soon," said the mom. The woman also asked her child that when Chloe came to see him, the girl should say her mother's name. That way her uncle would recognize her right away. After all, he promised that if we had a baby, we would name her Chloe. Lastly, said the girl, before finally closing her eyes for the last time. That's exactly how the main character's mom left her baby. After that, the girl saw the note and realized everything. Chloe was transferred, not reborn. Chloe, who the girl had now become, was not even mentioned in the original story, although she was Hard's daughter. The attending physician stood over the poor girl. She couldn't regain consciousness. Her name was Adele. The doctors couldn't even see any change or improvement. She was still lying with her eyes closed. As expected, Hard feels guilty about the incident. Adele fell and passed out during the tea party, and it was Hard who was with her at that moment. Then he was overwhelmed with guilt, for he failed to protect the one who was sitting right in front of him. Experiencing the fear of losing someone close to him again, with pain in his heart, Hard listened to Adele's request. As a minor character, when I was reading the book, it seemed to me that this was the moment when Adele started laying the groundwork for revenge, and it makes my heart ache to see Hard like that, thought the girl, looking at the boy. Does Duke Eisenhower, who gave those cookies, still claim he's innocent? Then asked the guy to his butler. As it turns out, he really is. Poem of this, the man promises to find the culprit on his own. It is said that he even began to conduct an investigation at his home. I should have gotten rid of him the moment he started arguing with Adele about anything! The Duke thought aloud, and that's when he was told that the man had left, whining that he would track down the antidote. Did you come here empty-handed too, big brother? Patrick Reinhardt asked in surprise. Who is it that came here empty-handed? I found the antidote. I went to visit the daughter of a brilliant doctor who helped me in the past, said Hard. She claims she learned pharmacology from her mother and knows how to create an antidote. The guy continued to tell and showed everyone the baby. Of course, the others were surprised because it was a completely little girl. A baby? Is it really a dragon that craves entertainment? Or maybe a sorceress who changed her appearance with magic? Patrick began to play with her. No, she's just an ordinary child, and her birth mom was a genius, explained Hard. Well, if you say so. Hey, you should have gone on and said I'm a genius too, said the girl. Even though Hard was a favorite character of the natural, but the guy lacked tact. Speaking of which, Patrick Reinhardt, I didn't think I would meet the main character of the novel so soon. Surprised at that moment, the girl who had fallen into someone else's body. As described in the novel, unlike Hard, he gave a softer impression. When Patrick looked closely at the child, he noticed that the girl had pink eyes. Then the man immediately guessed whose child she was. Is that brilliant doctor you mentioned really Laura? Patrick asked, surprised. So, you found this woman after all? So the biological father of this child, of course. But before Patrick could even say what he was thinking, he was silenced by Hard. Hard? Is he really to the point of not wanting to recognize me as his daughter that he's looking at him like that? At that moment, the girl who knew very well the plot of the book she had fallen into actually thought. At that moment, another man intervened in the conversation. Wait a minute. How can you entrust such a thing to a child? Please don't make such hasty decisions. Han and I will definitely be able to create medicines sooner or later. The doctor began to assert, but Hard had long been confident in his decision and knew how he should best proceed. Don't worry. I made sure in advance that no country's ingredients were present, said the man. This doctor was indeed acting strange. It was Owl, a member of the Temple Council who also appeared in the original novel. At that moment, the girl realized that they had better hurry up, which she decided to tell Hard. That's why Hard went to drink Adele with the same potion. At this time, the other people only looked on silently. Only the reborn girl alone actually knew what was ahead of her. I'm sorry, Adele. This time things won't go the way you planned, because this time it's going to be me on Hard's side, thought the little girl. A few seconds passed. After the prince gave her a potion, then the girl gave signs of life. She moved, and after a minute opened her eyes. How did I end up here? Immediately after waking up, the girl asked, Adele, don't you remember anything? Hard asked her, surprised in response. The girl then admitted that she remembered passing out when she ate the cookies. The man then had to inform her that it had been reported to him that there was poison in that cookie. Oh, poison! I felt a strange taste when I swallowed a piece. But how did I wake up after that? Is it really you two after me? The girl decided to ask. She assumed that it was the doctors who had saved her. The girl was sure that Owl had done it. But then the man explained that her guess was wrong. It was me, Chloe. It was me who saved you. Chloe saved the saint with her medicine. Then the girl decided to volunteer herself. Of course, Adele was greatly surprised by what the child said. She had generally seen this child for the first time, so she didn't even know who was standing in front of her. Child? Prince Hard? Who is this? She saved me? The awakened one was surprised. She is the daughter of a talented doctor. When I gave the antidote prepared by this child, you immediately opened your eyes, explained Hard, and sweetly stroked the child's head. What, I woke up immediately after drinking the antidote prepared by this child? Adele's astonishment was unbounded at that moment. In fact, the person who slipped the drug into the cookies given by Duke Han was Adele herself. In the original, Adele sets out to gain strength for revenge right after she is named a saint. She indoctrinated Hard with guilt and thus made him her loyal dog. At Adele's request, Hard was easily injured, but he didn't care even if bad rumors started to spread about him. The more he listened to Adele, the more people left him, and he became a loner. That night, they were talking to the girl. You're putting too much pressure on yourself. How can you call His Highness a monster? Don't worry about it. Your Highness, I will always be on your side. I will be on your side until the very end, promised the cheeky Adele while hugging the prince. And in the end, he dies instead of Adele. However, now reborn into the body of a little girl, Chloe. The child's goal now was to ferret out Adele's dirty deeds. I'm so glad the saint has awakened thanks to Chloe's medicine. The girl decided to say at that moment to pretend to be a good child. Thank you for saving me, baby girl. But you know what? If I really woke up because of your antidote, does that mean you know what kind of poison was used on me? The girl then said in response. But the little girl explained that it wasn't poison. What Chloe made was a tincture for fatigue. What Adele put in the cookies wasn't poison. It was a drug that makes a person sleep like a murdered man for weeks. And afterward, she had a man make a false diagnosis that Adele was poisoned. That man was Owl. After a while, Adele would wake up on her own. Their plan was to then diagnose the patient with a natural process. Supposedly, the body cleansed itself of toxins because of her power as a saint. Well, that's when Chloe came in and interfered with Adele's plans. The girl gave her a drink that immediately put her on her feet. This drink has a mana-boosting effect. However, it is not suitable for extracting Harda's ailment. This is the best effect of taking a similar nutritional supplement. It wasn't poison? Then why did Adele lose consciousness? Patrick asked Chloe in surprise. I think the saint just had too many sleeping pills. She fell into a deep sleep, so Chloe immediately got her up with her mixture. explained the little girl. Of course, since things didn't go according to the girl's plan, she continued to stand her ground and say that it wasn't true. No, that can't be true. When I swallowed the cookies, my throat lit up like fire, as if I had drunk poison in its purest form, claimed Adele. This child is wrong. For starters, how would a child even be able to wake me up? The girl continued to blame the child and not believe the little girl. Adele, no one could wake you up until we gave you her mixture. That's when Hard intervened. So the person who should be most suspicious right now is the one who first claimed that an unknown toxic drug was found in the cookies. Owl? Noted Hard. Your Highness! You've misunderstood everything! Holy! The man was seriously frightened. At that, he thought that now Adele would save his reputation when she explained their plan. But it ended differently. Adele continued to play the role of a victim. Owl, even though you and I didn't get along, I didn't think you would do this kind of thing to me. How could you do this? The girl continued to blame him. Han, quickly call the knights and lead him away, then ordered the prince to the butler. As Owl was led away, he cried out to the prince that it was unfair. But of course, no one listened to the man anymore. As expected of Adele, she immediately cut off her tail. Chloe! So this isn't a fatigue potion, but a remedy to restore strength. The prince then admonished the child. You were so proud of your intelligence, weren't you? But you didn't even know it. Unexpectedly, the Duke said to emphasize the child's uneducatedness. After the hype subsided, everyone sat down to drink tea together. Patrick admitted that he really didn't expect the child to be able to put Adele on her feet. That's when the man also asked again if the baby girl was really Laura's daughter. Not only are you not praising me, you're also putting me in such an embarrassing position. This is too much. And anyway, why are you so indifferent to me? Waking up Adele wasn't enough? What can I do to get closer to him? The girl who was reborn as a baby girl seriously pondered. Oh, by the way, could you give me this recuperation remedy as well? Patrick decided to ask her then. The guy was just too tired for the last few days. That's why he asked for the potion. And it wasn't hard for the girl to give him the remedy anyway. But Patrick didn't want to take this valuable potion for nothing. So he promised the child that he would give her as much money as she wanted. Since I only have one copy left, I'll give it to Prince Hard. Unexpectedly, the little girl decided and handed over the potion. The girl realized that if she gave him one as a gift, his favor towards her would increase. Well, at least she thought so. Well, then the prince declared that he did not need this potion at all. That's when Chloe started begging the guy to take it. However, when it comes to Chloe, you are the most important thing to me, said the little girl. That little girl seems to have a heart for you, bro. Seriously, what could you possibly like about my fierce big brother? Look at me. Am I prettier? Patrick said jokingly then. Well, from their dialogue, was distracted by the Duke, who ran into the study. Your Excellency, you should not do this without prior warning, said the man. As soon as the aide entered, the prince decided to inform that he already knew who dared to poison the saint, so that he could make everything clear at once. But Duke Anne had come for a completely different reason than that. Duke Magnus Anne is the representative of the Chromium sect and Adele's guardian appointed by the temple. He is the one suspected of poisoning Adele. Although he is her guardian, he neglected her, and she neglected him. Adele planned the whole thing precisely to smear the Duke. However, the Duke was not harmed in any way. Then even the man kicked the other guy and informed him that it was all his fault. I found a witch's poison in his bloody room that seems to be a memento from his birth mother. The man continued to assert. This Duke placed the blame on his illegitimate-born son. The Duke and Duchess had not been able to have a child for a long time, so he decided to have a child on the side. He named the son Barney and brought him to the estate to name him his successor. However, as fate would have it, the Duchess learned of her pregnancy at that moment. Thereupon, a legitimate heir was born, whose name was already Jacob. Barney, being recognized even by the emperor himself as one of the successors to the ducal title, became for the family like an eyesore. So he decided to take this opportunity to do away with the boy. Not too long ago, he had an argument with his saint over his rough behavior with her, from which he got a scolding. That's what makes him the prime suspect. The non-native father continued to assert. Looking at the boy, it was obvious, even under his clothes, that he had a lot of bruises. The girl decided to save her peer and explained to the Duke that he was not guilty of anything. She also asked the man not to say that again. A child. Girl, this guy is the one responsible for the saint being unconscious right now, but you still claim he's not to blame, the man asked. When Chloe explained to him that she had cured the saint long ago, Anne also decided that the child was talking some nonsense. This child is really telling the truth. Adele woke up. She didn't wake up since she took too many sleeping pills. Therefore, it is safe to say that your son is not guilty of anything. Then the prince intervened in the conversation. Of course, Duke Anne got even more angry and demanded to explain what it all meant. While the adults were discussing this whole situation, Chloe decided to socialize with the boy. She decided to give him a gift from the bottom of her heart, one of the potions. Here you go. Anoint this on your bruises and they'll go away quickly. Hide it as fast as you can before that bad uncle takes it away, said the girl and handed over the jar. But why are you helping me? Then asked Barney in surprise. Why am I helping? Hidden bruises under my clothes and unfair treatment for something I didn't even do. A house with no one to take your side. The girl began to reason. She realized that doing all this because it reminded her so much of her past life. But of course, the child could not tell her new buddy that she had been reborn into the body of a baby. So she answered the guy that she was only helping him because he was cute. Now Chloe knew that she would definitely save Barney. The boy just had to wait for her. In the meantime, Adele was just freaking out. It was the perfect plan! I almost made that arrogant Duke bow down to me, even almost succeeded in making Hard feel indebted to me, but I still failed. What should I do now? After all this, I was planning to take advantage of Duke Max's weakness, pondered the girl. Duke Max was a representative of the Imperial faction and a person who would be a great source of strength for Anna in the future. However, he broke the law by developing iron mines and selling the raw materials to others. Not even his family knows about it. If he is not careful, such a thing could be filed as corruption and full-blown treason against the state. It would be the perfect opportunity to frame the Duke and get rid of him for good. The problem is that the place where the iron mine is located is full of monsters. So, Adele wanted to ask Hard to check it all out and gather evidence as payment for her poisoning. But now, things were different. Adele knew it was all because of that little girl, so she already hated Chloe. Who is she anyway? I haven't seen her once in my past life. Something's not right. It's a girl. I need to send her away, thought the girl. At this point, Chloe had her own problems. I didn't even think about the fact that Hard would choose to recognize me as his daughter. However, how can you just take me and send me back without even saying goodbye to me properly? The protagonist of this story was surprised. When she returned home, the guardians were not at all happy to see her. You disappeared without saying a word! What have you been doing? Let's go home, you mischievous troublemaker! The angry man began to assert and grabbed the girl by the arm. The prince had called her uncle without even consulting the child. Just as she thought, she should have been more decent yesterday. It seemed to the girl that all adults were like that. Based on her past life, she had roughly the opinion that adults didn't like their children. But Chloe didn't even think that Hard would hurt her so much. That said, she was glad that Barney's future would now change. She had only this to hope. Everything possible the girl has already done. Chloe promised herself that she would definitely come back and make Hard even happier. That's what her mom wanted. As the little girl was being taken home, the prince saw her off, looking out the window. This baby. She was annoyingly clingy to me, so I decided to watch her. But it was weird, because she said she would come back. Narrated Prince Adele. I know, she's really cute, but still I feel sad, said the girl in response. As it turned out, Adele had lied to the prince as if the girl had told her that she wanted to go home. Yes, she came to me early in the morning to tell me that. She said she wanted to go home to her family. The girl continued to brazenly lie. Adele also added that this uncle and his wife are pretty nice people. I sympathize with them. Raising a child is not easy, especially when you're not the biological parent. The girl also said, "Still, you should have consulted me about everything first. I should have at least said goodbye to her before sending her away." Then said Hard in a gruff tone, "I mean, she's just a kid. Maybe she was just really scared to be away from her family, even for one night. And when she asked to be sent back, I immediately agreed. Do you really worry about her?" said Adele to get the guy's attention on her side. "No, I'm just indebted to her now, but I still need to fulfill my duties," said the prince to her. "Her name is Chloe. At first I thought she might be my daughter, but my daughter was supposed to be 7. Look in her records. I found out that she is only 5 years old," realized the man. "Laura, since you left me, you should have lived a decent life. So why did you choose to give such a name to a child that wasn't mine? What kind of scumbag was her father to let Laura raise a child on her own?" The man didn't understand, but the prince had never expressed this pain about his child to anyone. Still, Hard decided to ask his knight Maximus to attach someone to that aunt who had just left. "If anything happens to her, report it to me immediately," ordered the prince. At this time, Chloe finally finished cleaning around the house. "I can't believe I'm going to end up going back to this house." Disappointed, thought the girl. Before that, Chloe's real mother had told Uncle Sandy to take care of her baby. But as soon as her mom passed away, he decided not to fulfill his responsibilities and just took the savings. That's when Chloe realized that she was already hungry for food. But her guardians left her very little. "The desserts that I ate in the Palace of Harda were very tasty. No, come to think of it." Chloe remembered, but still tried to force herself to think of something else. Still, such a luxury she would no longer be able to afford. "Even though the original plan failed, I still have a lot of work to do. If I want to cure him, I shouldn't give up so easily." The reborn girl clearly decided for herself. In the Koch clan, pharmaceutical recipes were passed down from generation to generation. This is the section on genetic disease research. The Koch family also suffers from a hereditary disease that prevents them from living beyond the age of 30. Chloe's mother, who died young, was the last of the Kochs but gave birth to a girl. Therefore, if Chloe dies, the Koch family will cease to exist. Did our ancestors do something terrible in the past? Why did such a terrible disease overtake us? Did not understand and saw injustice in everything the reborn little girl. But the girl did not stay alone for long. She was distracted from her musings by a boy who burst into the room. It was Burns. "Hey, girl! How many times have I told you? I told you to call me the Great Burns!" The little brat started to bray. The boy didn't even like the way the girl was looking at him. Burns thought he was the oldest and most important of the children in this family, though in reality he was also 7 years old, just like the girl. "No, Daddy said you're only 5. To the child, "How many times do I have to repeat? It was because Mom decided to register me later." The girl then boldly answered him. Well, it didn't matter anymore to the cheeky little kid. The second she knew that the boy had eaten all the goodies that the girl had brought yesterday. "Everything in this house is mine. Get it? What are you hiding here, huh? Quickly give it back to me," said the insolent man, and began snatching the book out of the little girl's hands. "Really? You want it that badly?" Already the guy started blackmailing her with the book and waved it right in front of the girl. He demanded that Chloe give him more goodies for that book, or he would eat it. and it was the only thing Chloe had left from her mom, so the book was incredibly valuable. But the girl didn't have any goodies, so she only tried to snatch the book from the guy's hands with her own hands. "You think you can get it? Bring me the goodies!" he continued to demand. Then Chloe couldn't stand it anymore and bit his finger with all her might to make him let go of the book. At his scream, his dad came running. The boy also started complaining to his father that he was in a lot of pain and crying. Of course, the uncle was on his own son's side, so he didn't even want to listen to Chloe and ask what happened here. "Girl, I took from you when you had nowhere else to go and raised you, and this is how you repay me? Come here. Today is the last day you dare give me any trouble." Directly, the man began to threaten and pull the girl by the arm. At that, suddenly he said something else. "Someone is ready to pick you up and is waiting in the living room," said his uncle. By this someone, of course, the girl was hoping to see Hard, who had come to pick her up. But to her great regret, it was a completely different man. "So, you are the one, Chloe? You look cute and smart. Pink eye color? Quite rare. Here, hold your 10 coins for this child," said the unknown man as soon as he saw the child. "The amount is good, if you want it. You can take it now," replied the uncle to him. This shameless uncle really decided to just take the girl and sell her. She realized that she had absolutely no other option but to just run away. So Chloe decided to push the man away and run away with all her legs. But of course, the child was much weaker than adults. So she was caught and tied up. No, it can't end like this. And why is it at this very moment that I picture Hard's face? I want too much, being one step away from him. Thought to herself at that moment the girl. Chloe really just wanted to be near the prince, wanted to just watch the guy. And that's when, quite unexpectedly, the prince walked into the room. He heard a child's voice calling out to him. When Hard came closer to the girl to ask what was going on here, she purposely started crying. Then the man decided to find out if those adults were really Chloe's guardians. The uncle told him that they only picked her up when the girl next door passed away. One day there was a girl in our little village who had no roots or connections, and towards the end of her life, she went completely insane. That's right, spouted some nonsense about us sending this child to an imperial family, narrated the man. Really? Laura really wanted to send Chloe to an imperial family? Maxim, arrest these people now on suspicion of slave trade and send them to the proper authorities. Immediately, the prince ordered as he learned the whole truth. Now at last, Chloe was left alone with Hard. To make the girl stop crying, the guy decided to lift her in his arms. "What a lightweight you are. Are you eating normally? I think we should start by feeding you first," said the guy. At that moment, Chloe didn't even realize that this was really happening. Everything looked like a dream, so unreal. Hard really came here and protected me. Didn't he send me away because I annoyed him? She thought to herself, and then decided to say thank you to His Highness for saving her. But after a few seconds, the girl fell asleep as she was too tired. In her past life, the girl who was reborn into Chloe was an unloved child. Her father preferred to spend more time with a bottle of alcohol in his hands than with his child. Once, when he was interrupted while drinking alcohol, he came to such a rage that even the mother was horrified by what she saw. Over time, the father became more and more unmanageable. Eventually, the girl's mother divorced him and took her daughter with her. And after a few years, the mother managed to remarry. "You're Georgia, aren't you? You look just like your mother when you first met her," said the girl's new father. He also introduced Georgia to her sister. "And this is Sally. You're the same age, so I hope you get along," introduced the father. Her new stepsister was quite pretty, which the girl noticed. In fact, they really hit it off. It was a great time. Stepfather was very kind, and Sally was a very capable girl. Georgia believed that they would become a real family. But contrary to expectations, such harmony did not last long. When the girls came home from school, their father began to scold Sally for her test results. In addition, the father compared Georgia with his own daughter. And since Georgia studied better, of course, Sally was very hurt and unpleasant. The stepfather started comparing Georgia to Sally in absolutely everything. "Sally, have you seen the time? Come here. Haven't you noticed that Georgia goes straight home after school and keeps studying there? What's the mess in your room? Quickly clean it up just like Georgia did." Started yelling at the father. Of course, his own daughter no longer supported such comparisons. "Stop it! All this time it's that damn Georgia. Daddy, things used to be different before. Why did everything change as soon as Georgia moved in with us?" Angered aloud the girl. After that, Mom started to admonish her own daughter as well. "Georgia, it seems like their relationship got worse because of you. So please be more careful," asked the mom. "We said we'd have a good time here," added the woman. It wasn't fair, but the girl accepted it. Accepted it for her mom's sake. But nothing had changed. Sally still hated her half-sister, who she was constantly compared to. Sally bullied the girl when her parents weren't looking. Ruined her clothes. Sally's lost things always miraculously ended up in Georgia's room. All the blame was on Georgia. But Sally didn't even stop there. One day when Sally came home from school, the girl had gone completely nuts, accusing her half-sister of something she hadn't done. "Georgia hit me! All this time she's only been pretending. At school she's completely different," Sally declared. The girl tried to prove that she wasn't, but of course no one listened to her. Then her stepfather slapped her in the face. "Has anyone taught you this kind of behavior? We are a family. How dare you do this to her?" Severely scolded her stepfather. "I'm not going to tolerate this kind of attitude. You came into our home. I took care of you as my own daughter. And how did you pay me? Throw her out of the house now, or I'll file for divorce," ordered the man to the girl's mother. It was then that the mother told her daughter that she wanted to live for herself. So Georgia was forced to leave the house and be alone. There was no more room for her in that house. Remembering this story, the reborn baby girl was still crying. She just wanted to live happily with her mom, didn't she? Did everything for the sake of it? But why did everything turn out so horribly? When Chloe opened her eyes, she noticed that they were riding in a carriage. The prince told her that the girl had fallen asleep as soon as she saw him, and now they were on their way to his mansion. Did I fall asleep because I was relaxed? But I was really surprised that Hard took care of me. Besides, we're heading to his mansion now. Does he really want to turn me into the imperial orphanage? The poor girl thought in a moment. She now decided to thank the prince for even picking her up to take her to the orphanage. "Thank you for saving me. Rest assured, I will not be lost at the orphanage." But then the prince pointed out to her that she was wrong. "Do you really want to get rid of me that badly? After all, I haven't even said a word about it," replied the man. "Here we are. This will be your room from this day forward," said the prince, and showed the girl a beautiful room in the palace. It was so clean that everything around it was shining and sparkling. Plus, if the girl needed anything, the prince could call for a maid. I am certainly very pleased to be around Hard, however. Did he really allocate me such a luxurious room? Still was surprised by the girl. After all, the little girl didn't understand at all what Hard was really thinking. It had been 3 days since Chloe got to the palace to Hard. He allocated for her not only a room, but also a separate laboratory. The girl would never have thought that she would be here again. Besides, he'd managed to bring her mom's research book from Uncle Sandy's house. "I thought I'd lost it forever, but I'm glad to hold it in my hands again," thought the little girl and hugged her treasured book. She now leads the life of a god. New things and delicious food are brought to her every day. But the problem is that after that time, she never managed to meet Hard once. The little girl constantly inquired about the prince from her assistants, but always got dry answers about his whereabouts. That day, after her rescue, he brought her to his mansion. Chloe thought he recognized her as his daughter. Does he ignore me and does not want to see me? Did not understand the protagonist. In addition to this, the girl also had an assumption that he went to Adele. In the novel, Adele's influence on the prince began to increase around this time. Speaking of Hard, he would definitely not fight back. Deacon, your wrist has been really sore lately, hasn't it? Here you go. It's from me. The girl decided to thank her assistant. Of course, the man was overjoyed at such a courtesy. Lately, all the staff had only been talking about how good the little girl's medicine was. Nevertheless, the girl was still glad that she was able to befriend the servant. But still, her thoughts were filled with Hard. Chloe sincerely hoped that he would not get hurt. But still, the girl realized that she should prepare medicines in advance. That night, the girl was about to go to bed, but then she thought about the fact that now Hard should definitely be in his room. Fortunately, his room is not guarded by anyone, so the little girl decided to sneak there herself. When she came to the room, she really saw the sleeping prince. However, the little girl noticed that Hard was in pain right now. "Your Imperial Highness, please. Only you can help me with this," Adele begged that day. Being around Adele was very dangerous. But the prince realized that he couldn't refuse her. Even when he was abandoned by his beloved, even when his own father forgot his son's existence, she was the only one who was at his side while the others turned away. I had no feelings for her, but it was nice to spend time with her, forgetting the loneliness. However, it was like taking an anesthetic for an open wound. Realized the prince. The prince thought that one should not ask for help, as it could be a problem for Adele. But also Hard knew that he needed to finish with his criminal work for Adele's sake. Then he decided that if he pretended to be crazy, she would be okay. The guy needed to go it alone, just like the time his own father turned his back on him. When Hard was half asleep, he felt a gentle touch. He felt as if Laura were touching him. But when the boy opened his eyes, he saw Chloe's small hands, to which he was greatly surprised. "Chloe, what are you doing in my room?" Did not understand the guy. Then the girl explained that she wanted to see him, waited for him all day. But the guy was not there. So she decided to come in for the night, but she saw that he had a fever. "You reminded me of my mom, and I couldn't leave you alone. And when Mom got really sick, it was the only thing I could do," said the girl. She was, after all, now giving the boy a cold bandage to make it easier for him to get over the fever. "Are you saying that this child single-handedly took care of her dying mother?" The prince thought for a second. Even after Chloe left his mansion, she hadn't left his mind. After Laura left Hard, she had met someone because of the beginning of the child. She was probably the one person Hard never wanted to see again. But for some reason, he couldn't leave the little girl alone, so he decided to take her with him. Now the guy didn't even know what he should do with the baby. Still, he decided to ask why the girl decided to give those supplements only to him. Chloe said that it was just her mom about a man liking them. Laura was talking about me? Surprised, the boy interjected and the little girl confirmed it. "Yes, but Mom told me not to tell anyone about it. She said my daddy likes them no matter how bitter they are. The important thing is that he takes them through his mouth," said the little girl, and that shocked Hard even more. He even had to cover her mouth with his hand. "God, what else did you even say, Laura? Don't say anything like that to anyone," the man asked. "Your mom and dad." "Wait a minute. Did you just say dad? So you mean to say you're my daughter?" In a moment, the prince realized. He couldn't even believe that his own daughter was really right in front of him right now. This all seemed really absurd. "Oh my God, is he laughing at me? Are you saying that he brought me here without me even knowing it? I told him my name, didn't I?" The girl thought to herself. The prince from the outside really did look like some silly man, but he was understandable, since he was confused about the information about the child's age. "But after all, the records say that you are only 5 years old. If you were my daughter, you should have been about 7, he pointed out. "That's all because Mom was busy with work, so she registered me later. I'm actually 7 years old," said the girl. It was then that the prince finally realized that she was indeed his daughter. Or rather, he just had to do it. "I saw just now that your eyes are just like Laura's. However, only now did I realize that you also have blonde hair, just like mine," he said, and gently touched the girl's hair. "Laura, so you didn't forget our promise after all. Then why didn't you come back to me when you found out you were pregnant?" The man also asked the question. But now the prince still couldn't get an answer to that since the girl was no longer alive. "Prince, now I hope you will stop avoiding me?" the little girl decided to ask. "I stood at your door every day waiting for you, but I never got to meet you," shared the girl, but then the prince explained that he was just busy and nothing more. But when Chloe suggested that she should sleep with her daddy tonight, he refused. The guy even decided to carry the baby in his arms. How come? The atmosphere was right after all. A little upset was the girl. She even remembered that right now His Highness also had a fever, and he was carrying her in his arms, which she told hard. "If that's the case, then I'll be fine, so you can stop worrying about me. Sleep well," said the man. And when the girl checked his forehead, she noticed that it wasn't so hot anymore either. The fever had subsided. Once the father put his daughter to bed, he headed back to his room. On the way, he thought about why the girl still addressed him so formally. She didn't even call him Daddy. Not that it bothered the guy much, but still, he wondered about it. The next morning, the girl was told by the maid that Hard was going to have breakfast with her today. "Finally, Hard has stopped avoiding me," rejoiced the protagonist. "Now that I'm closer to Hard, it will be much easier for me to protect him from Adele," decided the little girl. However, she was wrong. The girl knew that her favorite character had a rather hard temper, but she had not suspected that much. All through breakfast, they just ate in silence. But the food was very tasty. Chloe had already eaten a lot of delicious food since coming here, but today it seemed much tastier. "Your Highness, please try this. It's delicious. Add some honey, and then eat it. It's more delicious. And the meat is so soft and juicy. This is the first time I've eaten such soft meat. Try it," said the girl, and held out her fork with the meat. The combination of meat and honey was indeed excellent. But Chloe noticed that Hard was completely indifferent, as if some annoying little dog was sitting next to him. "I wonder how awkward it would be if I called him Daddy. I'd rather not call him that." The girl thought for a moment and changed her mind. "Why did you suddenly stop talking? Did something upset you?" The father then asked, as the girl wondered about the same thing. When he asked again what it was that had upset her so much, the girl didn't say anything back to him. The dad then decided to change the subject and suggested that after the meal, he buy her some clothes. "Clothes? Am I really going on a shopping trip with Hard? It's a good opportunity to bond," thought about the girl and really got excited. But once again, things did not go as she had envisioned. A few minutes later, some other girls met her to accompany her. "It's really nice to meet you. My last name is Brittany, the designer of the clothing store, and these are my assistants." The girl introduced herself. "And what was I hoping for? He just called the designer here, and he didn't even come himself," the protagonist thought disappointedly. That being said, clothes still had to be chosen. "Please tell me if you like anything," asked the designer. Then the maids began to offer their choices of clothes that should fit the young lady. All, of course, looking very nice. "Oh dear, what to do? The measuring tape is torn." One maid was frightened, but she was told that there was an exact same one in the mansion, so another assistant decided to fetch it. "Thank you. Then, if I may, I would like to ask you to bring a few cups of tea, please. I'll drink whatever you bring me," said the designer, and both assistants left. Feeling a little awkward with all the maids gone," flashed through Chloe's mind at that moment. The designer then asked the young lady what she liked. When Chloe admitted that she didn't find anything to her liking, the girl suggested one of the dresses. It had so much jewelry on it that Chloe thought it would be difficult to even move around, so she didn't like it much either. Then the girl suggested another option. When the little girl didn't like what the designers offered, it really pissed the girls off. "How picky you are. What kind of taste can an illegitimate-born child who doesn't even know her roots have anyway? Incorrectly expressed one of the designers. Chloe didn't even realize what was happening. The behavior of the designers changed as soon as the maids left. I think she lives in her own fictional world. Really, what's the point of us even trying? Let's call it a day, said the girl, and it was clear that they had sent the maids away to do just that. What are you sitting there for? Quickly look at these dresses, said Brittany, and grabbed the little girl's arm to throw her to the floor. You liked something, didn't you? Then great. Buy it all and don't show off. The girl also added in an even harsher tone. The assistant who was sitting next to her started laughing even harder at the kid. It's just like it was with that Duke Barney. Thank you for that time. Thanks to you, I sold everything, said another girl. Right after that, the designer sat down on the couch with her assistants to rest. The girl was sure that they had already sorted things out and it was possible to relax. Chloe was about to leave this horrible room, but when she heard the ladies talking, she decided to stay to eavesdrop on them for a bit. Let's eat after we're done here. By the way, do you think His Highness only has one illegitimate child born? There are rumors that there might be more. By the way, have you heard the news? Not long ago, someone died in a brothel. They say the prince was there at the time. The girls gossiped. Do you think it was Prince Hard who killed someone there? I've heard that he steals other people's sacred objects and breaks into other people's houses, but now it seems he's moved on to murder. They say he used to be different, like he's got an evil spirit inside him. I also heard someone cursed him. He's a monster, a real disgrace to the Empire. The man continued talking. To prevent Hard from hearing this dirty gossip, Chloe even wanted to cover his ears. Daddy, don't listen, a girl would say. Hard Reinhard was the name of the most hated man in the Empire. Abandoned by his father, the Emperor, and after Hard, he thought he was a savior and used him for his own ends. The many thefts of sacred objects and the killing of people, all the work of Adele, not Hard. But the blame still fell on the guy, pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. Being betrayed by the person dearest to you, getting all sorts of criticism from people you didn't even know was something Georgia knew better than anyone else. In her real life, after all, she faced these problems all the time. The moment the girls were gossiping, they noticed that the little girl had gone somewhere. That's when the trouble started for the ladies, as the little girl went to tell her daddy all about it. The prince had already gone to see the saucy girls. Looks like you two are having quite a nice conversation. My daughter is here, so you can take it easy and continue your conversation, and I'll listen to you carefully, said the man to mock the girls who were hurting his child. Bastards! Nobles always like to spend money on them in public to hang their reputation in the eyes of others. But it was only material support, as they didn't care at all in how others treated them. However, there were exceptions. Why do you think I came here? I see you were measuring a dress with my daughter. But let me ask you, what kind of rags are these? Wearing something like that? Are you saying that she should go to the imperial palace wearing such outfits? Hard continued to be angry. The atmosphere was getting more and more heated, but Chloe only diverted her attention to the fact that the prince was going to introduce the girl to the emperor. Barney, after all, had also once been to the emperor. The duke had no children then, so he decided to make his illegitimate-born child the heir. But Hard doesn't even have a wife. There's no need to introduce me to the emperor, thought the little girl. At this moment, the designer and her assistant immediately fell to their knees to beg for her forgiveness. You were wrong. Please take pity on us, the girls begged. But the emperor was of a strict temperament, so he didn't fall for any such forgiveness. Why should I? You said yourself that I'm a real monster, skillfully pointed out the guy. Therefore, he asked his knights to take those bad girls away. When the girls were arrested, they kept begging to be released. They apologized and promised that this was the last time, but no one was going to listen to them anymore. Of course, it was all fair. As the girls were led away, Hard wondered about his daughter. Sounds like it upset you, just as I thought it would. I'm used to hearing that sort of thing. But this child, thought the man, looking at the child. However, he was pleased that Chloe had called him Daddy. Now he felt a little more comfortable with this child. But Your Highness, is it definitely going to be all right if Chloe meets the grandfather emperor? The girl decided to clarify. What's wrong with that? You are my daughter, after all, calmly answered her man. According to the story, one of the many sources of Hard's suffering was the emperor. Hard tries not to meet the emperor face to face, even at various ceremonies. However, if he introduces Chloe, his illegitimate-born daughter, their relationship will become even worse. I've always despised the imperial family and other aristocrats for not being able to take responsibility for their blood, the man admitted. That's ridiculous, don't you think? They want the child to take responsibility for being born themselves, so I decided not to do that for anything, explained Dad. So, don't worry. When you stand before His Majesty, no one will doubt you again. The father also added to support his daughter. Responsibility. Yes, that's why I liked Hard. That's why he became my favorite character. Hard, in that case, I'll do my best too, thought the girl who had been reborn into the little heroine from the book. But Chloe has to study. Yes, for if I go to the palace, I have a lot of things to learn, the girl said then, and the man realized that she was indeed right. Then the girl said that she would like to be trained by the princess. The princess of this empire is definitely not what they are portrayed as in fairy tales. She's more like a devil. You'll definitely be fine with that? Her father decided to check with her just in case. But the girl said she was absolutely sure of her choice. Then Hard also asked something of his child, to call him Daddy. He also said that the girl could practice right now to do it more boldly and casually. Then Chloe saw the corner of his mouth lift slightly. It was the first time Hard had ever smiled even slightly in front of the little girl. Finally, the girl was able to change her dress. She looked even cuter in her new clothes. It seemed that what happened last time was still bothering the maids. When the girls got home, Chloe found it very difficult to calm them down. The next day, Hard called in another girl to order clothes. But the problem was that Chloe thought she had too many outfits. After the girl was dressed up, she decided to go to her lab and do some experiments. After that, she heard her father's voice in the far room, so she decided to go in with cheerful shouts to say hello to her dad. But as soon as the girl opened the door, she noticed that it was a conference room. She felt embarrassed and thought about leaving, but her dad called her over to him. Hey, is it really okay to come in? Where should I sit down? Wondered the protagonist. Then the prince took her in his arms and sat her next to him on his lap. Well, let's move on to the next topic, said he with the baby in his arms. The workers who were sitting at the conference decided to inquire about the little girl. This is my daughter. Her name is Chloe Reinhardt, introduced her father. The girl at that moment was really surprised that the prince introduced her to his employees. He really wasn't going to hide the baby anymore. But the other co-workers didn't seem to particularly like this introduction. So that's why you created such an urgent council. I even got curious because you were trying to complete the red ghost problem that you usually ignored, said the unpleasant man. But then the girl paid attention to the red ghost. There was a newspaper in the novel that liked to write slander about Hard. However, since the publisher's name was kept secret, the girl never found out who wrote those articles. And in the novel, Hard to the end of his life and ignored him. The prince tells Adele that he doesn't care what people think of him, as long as it's for the sake of the girl herself. However, did the prince decide to end it this time? If you look closely at this paper on the table, is this red ghost newspaper? Nothing but provocative articles, noted the little one. But the emperor didn't directly bring it up at that moment, and suggested that Baron May talk about it later. Oh, I beg your pardon, but I understand it all now, Your Majesty. If it were me in your place, I wouldn't show such newspapers to such a cute daughter either, said the man. He decided to deal with this because of me? No way. Rather than him noticing the worry on my face when that designer was speaking ill of Hard. Startled the girl. I'll see to it that there are no more things in the country that you don't like. Never mind. Then said the father to his daughter. Hard, who cared for no one but Adele, decided to do this for the little girl. It was really a revelation. Some people who had read the novel already had some suspicions. Most of the articles in this newspaper are about Hard's secret forays. Chloe did not know what the prince does in his mansion, but knew very well about what he does outside these walls. The girl thought that it could be one of Hard's vassals. One of those present could be the publisher of the Red Ghost. When the conference was over, everyone began to disperse. But the girl stopped Sir May. Chloe decided to be lucky like a child, so she showed her cute dress. It was an excuse to talk about the first bad designer, and the man took the bait to inquire about the situation. After the employees of the rather successful clothing store visited the Prince Herd mansion, it became common knowledge that they had gone bankrupt. There is talk that the designer and her assistants made some kind of mistake that offended the royal family, but no one knows about how much they offended the prince. "What happened there? Were you there?" inquired the man, then decided to whisper in his ear all the things she had seen with her own eyes. Of course, the sir was simply horrified at what he heard, but before he left, the girl told him it was a secret. So lastly, the man promised that he would not tell anyone about it. Chloe didn't trust him, but it didn't matter because she just wanted to get the word out to someone. You have to be smart, and set the bait. Chloe decided to take care of finding whoever was spreading these bad rumors. Once upon a time, a divine oracle descended on Berg's main temple, serving up a parable. "I will send a saint to you, one who can revive your dead springs and bring the dead back to life," promised the divine spirit. "She will be my representative in your land. Find the source of life on the mountain. There your savior will be waiting for you." It was pointed out in the parable. In the place where the oracle pointed sat a black-haired girl who came from another dimension. The people nicknamed her the Miracle Saint Ina. "From today, Yenna will become a member of our team," said the man. He explained that they would give her Adele's room, and the girl, from now on, would use the room on the 3rd floor. "Miss Adele, I apologize. However, I beg you, let us break our engagement. I have fallen in love with Saint Gina." That's what Adele's fiancé once said at the wedding. Since then, her life changed completely. Gina, being loved by everyone, took away everything Adele had. Adele could not contain her anger, and therefore began to openly bully this girl. Gina, however, was not the innocent child that Adele thought she was. Therefore, Adele was sentenced to death for attempting to murder the saint. The girl falsely accused Adele of attempted murder. Why? Everyone believes her. Please, somebody, please let me have my revenge. I'd give you anything for such an opportunity. That night, thought of the girl. When she opened her eyes, she was in her room. There had been no execution, which the girl herself was extremely surprised about. Adele did not understand at all what was happening to her now. Why am I dreaming about what happened before my rebirth? I feel sick to my stomach. It's all right. It won't happen now. The lady calmed herself down. She thought that everything would be fine now because she was now a saint. Allegedly, Adele had cleansed the cursed river and all the people loved her. After the girl died, she met with a divine spirit. The spirit explained that he could bring her back in time, but in return, he would take the girl's soul. All she had to do was simply cast a discoloration spell and pretend to purify the water. And when Adele is treating the baby, they use a spell that makes it not move, so the baby looks like it's about to die. And afterward, they have to give him an antidote. What will happen if they find out about everything? To prevent that from happening, I need to get everything done before Ina comes into this world. And even if she comes and does some miracle, she'll just be my copycat, thought the girl. She lied to the people that she would pray for everyone. In doing so, Adele knew she would not give hers to Yenna or anyone else again. "Has the oracle come?" the girl once asked her assistant. "Yes, once again it was the secret oracle," said the assistant. It was a talent she had acquired after her regression. The girl could now read letters in another language. In fact, the god had given her this ability to be his errand boy. After all, Adele had already given him her soul, but he kept asking her for more. It was the god who had called Gina into this world that the girl was angry about. He was also giving Adele a second life so that she could take revenge on her enemy. Adele didn't understand what was wrong with this spirit. It's probably just some really annoying thing again. Let Hard take care of it better, thought the girl that day. But now her relationship with Hard is not what it used to be. I'm sure it's all because of that child. Besides, people say that he himself admitted that it's his daughter. Adele knew. But to prepare myself, I need a hound dog like Hard. Also, thought the girl. She couldn't let that little girl take the prince away from her own. That night, Chloe couldn't sleep at all, so she decided to go to continue doing what she was doing earlier. But as the girl passed by the windows, she noticed Hart in a robe on the street. He's dressed in dark clothes and has prepared the most ordinary carriage. Doesn't seem to want to draw attention to himself. Where's he going at this hour? The little girl wondered. In a moment, the girl realized that today could be the day when Hard would face another problem because of Adele. That very chapter. Your Highness, we have arrived, said the assistant and opened the carriage to Hard. Then the man faced Adele. Okay, Maxim, we'll go first, and you join us once you're done here, ordered the prince. But just as Hard was about to go about his business, Maxim heard some noise in the carriage. When he opened the door, he saw the little girl there. What are you doing here? Haven't you been sitting there since the beginning? Surprised and slightly annoyed the deputy. You shouldn't have done that, miss. His Highness will scold you if he finds out about it. It looks like you knew where we were going since you decided to follow us, said Maxim. Of course the girl knew. It was an illegal auction house, after all. Even though it looks like an ordinary, unsightly building from the outside, but illegal auctions are held in the basement. In the novel, Adele was sent here by a demon god. She came here for the sealing stone. However, where this stone is located, something bad always happens. That is why Adele brought Hard with her as a score. That was why Chloe couldn't leave the prince alone. The girl thought that she needed to separate Adele and Hard as soon as possible. Do you really value him that much? Surprised, the assistant continued to question. Of course I do. After all, my daddy is the best, the girl answered him. In fact, Maxim was even glad to hear such a thing from a child. At last, His Highness had a man who was ready not only to give, but also to receive too. And in turn, Chloe was surprised by such statements from Maxim. In the novel, Maxim only silently followed Hard wherever he went. It was only after his death that he began to regret that he had done nothing. And yet, my lady, please, let's go back, asked the aide. All right, but Maxim, Papa told you to follow him once you were done. Will it be all right if you don't follow that order? Cleverly pointed out the sly little girl. Therefore, the girl stayed together with the assistant. At this time, Adele, along with Hard, had already climbed into the auction hall. When they sat down in their seats, they heard the others talking about the lots in this auction. What do you want to buy this time? I came here from what I was told that there would be some magic items for sale here, and I came here for one slave girl. Talk to the people. That meant that slaves were being sold here as well. That's when the companion of the evening, Adele, decided to ask the guy how his daughter was doing. My daughter is fine, Hard answered her in a cold tone. And I was worried. Is she really your daughter? I mean, you haven't even heard from Laura since then. If need be, there's always room for an illegitimate child born in the temple. They'll be taken care of there. Adele began to stand her ground again. But the prince was sure that Chloe was his daughter, so he wasn't even going to listen to Adele. Besides, it was his concern, not hers. Your Highness, please don't misunderstand. I only want to help you, said the girl. But then the prince stated that today was the last time he was helping her. I have a child now. I should refrain from doing dangerous deeds. If you suddenly need help, I will help, but not as I usually did. Unexpectedly to Adele, the man said. Her plan absolutely crumbled. That's when the presenter said that it was time to start their auction. But the girl was no longer thinking about the auction at all, but about the prince. And why has he suddenly changed so much? How can one change so much just because of some child? Is it really all about his bloodline? If only I had known it would end up like this. Adele was angry. Adele was already dating Laura. Therefore, the girl could have killed this prince's lover even earlier. I didn't think you would be so easy to find. His Highness Hard has expressed his desire to meet for you more than once, hasn't he? Adele began the unpleasant conversation. But guess what? It's your fault that His Highness is on the verge of being banished from the royal family. There's not even talk of inheriting the crown anymore, Adele said unexpectedly. Laura was really a good girl, so she didn't wish harm to anyone. Of course she was upset when she heard such a thing from an uninvited guest. This can't be because of me, the prince, startled the girl. Just stay away from him, Adele then ordered. Since you ran away from him yourself, don't you dare go back. Find a place that the prince will never find. The cunning Adele also added and grinned cheekily. Looks like she was already pregnant at that time. If I had only known about it, I would have killed her immediately. Adele thought at that moment. Well, it's too late now. Now she had to finish the job, kill the daughter of the girl Adele disliked. If he loses someone dear to his heart again, he will definitely break down, Adele thought. He'll have no problem becoming my doggy after this, decided the girl. Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you the next item, an obedient slave. He is very strong, so he will be a good tool for dirty deeds, said the host and showed the boys. Then the principal asked Adele what she was going to buy here. The girl revealed that she was thinking of getting a pendant with a red stone. It would be better if I bought it in my own name. It's too risky to shine your name in a place like this. Then the prince said, Thank you, your Imperial Highness, replied the girl and smiled. But the man realized that it would be nice to buy something else besides her pendant. So he bid 20 million for the very lot with the slave boy. There's an offer of 20 million! Who will offer more? Said the announcer, but in the end it was the final bid of the lot. I'll use him as a witness after we're done with your business. Narrated Hard. The guy also revealed that he was going to destroy the filthy place. But at that moment, an uninvited guest and his assistants suddenly came to the auction. What are you doing here? Get out of here now, demanded the guard. Of course, the man could no longer be stopped. Shut up! We're from the capital's guards! Seize everyone involved in this auction! He ordered. An hour ago, Maxim had approached the man and informed him that he wanted to leave this girl to them. They needed to keep an eye on the child. Lucky one of the capital's guards was nearby. Chloe thought at that moment. It was the best moment to take advantage of it, which the girl did. Sir, would you like me to tell you something? There's a very strange house around the corner. People go in there, but the lights aren't on, said the child. Wait a minute, are you talking about the illegal trading we were just looking for? Surprised the man. I certainly knew they wanted to promote themselves. However, I didn't think they would immediately organize a group to take the whole house by storm, Maxime thought, looking at the guards. In a moment, the aide also noticed that His Highness had disappeared somewhere. Since he wasn't on the first floor, he was probably sent to the second floor. I need to report to him quickly, Maxim thought. But that's when he noticed the unfamiliar guy. Now wait a minute. You behave yourself, then I'll let you go. I don't think it's worth starting a fight right now, said Maxime. But the man wasn't going to listen to him, so he turned around to punch the guy. Just as I thought, he's very dangerous. We need to deal with him as soon as possible, Maxime decided. Well, then a second later, his wound that the strange man had inflicted started to burn badly. Maxime guessed that the blade was poisoned as he could no longer feel his hand. And you're not bad. Another would have passed out by now. I'm in a hurry, though. I'll finish you quickly, said the embittered man and drew his sword again. In another situation, I wouldn't care about the wound, but right now I need to be as careful as possible, realized Maxime. Just then, out of the blue, a little girl came out from under the guy's scruff. It was Chloe. She and the child had already premeditated their entire future plan. Mister, please get out of the way. said the little girl, and had already taken out her potion. "We need to find Daddy as soon as possible," shouted Chloe, and threw the potion jar right into the man's face. In just a few seconds, he was already lying on the floor unconscious. It was a great job by Chloe. That said, right after that, Maxim scolded the girl a bit. He had asked her to keep her head down, after all. "But I thought that Maxim could lose, so what else could I do?" And Chloe justified herself. "If you're so weak, how do you protect my daddy?" That's when the little girl's words came up. Of course, she had nothing against this guard. On the contrary, the girl even thought to help the guy to heal his wound. Though Maxim himself was going to take care of it later, but the girl said to do as she saw fit. "Never mind. Show me your wound. It will be better to deal with it now than to regret it later," said the little girl. He was struck with a poisoned wedge. At first, it might just seem like his arm had lost a little sensation, but soon it could be fatal. In the novel, Hard was also stabbed with a similar poisonous blade. He survived, of course, afterward, but suffered the consequences. So I won't let it happen to Maxime. The little girl had clearly decided for herself. So she decided to help the boy now, so she wouldn't have to think about it later. She had enough problems of her own right now. "It's a good thing I took all the medicine with me just in case. That's it. Now there won't be any more pain," the girl also said lastly, as she put the finishing touches on Maxime's treatment. The main assistant of the Emperor's son was indeed grateful that Chloe was with him at this moment. The girl had healed him after all. "Thank you. It's just as the master said. No, it's nothing. By the way, what did you pour on that guy so much that he almost died?" Maxim also asked in surprise. "What, is that what you mean? No big deal," said the girl and smiled sweetly. "Nothing special? All right then, I get it. We need to find His Highness, so climb back up." Maxim also ordered, and the girl did indeed hide in his robe. But then Maxim felt some pebble fly into his hand. It was His Highness who had thrown the pebble to signal the boy. Hard was upstairs, so Maxim headed towards him. Finally, they faced each other. "Your Highness! So you were safe! But where's the saint?" rejoiced and inquired Maxim. Hard told him that the girl had left first. "We don't have much time. We should have done it earlier. But I didn't expect the guards to show up here," Hard admitted. Just then, the very guy from the guards burst into their room to report the breaking news. "Your Highness Prince! Thanks to you, we have eliminated an illegal trading house in this neighborhood. He was a real problem, so thank you, Your Highness." At this time, the prince himself was surprised that the guard thanked him, but at the same time, the man didn't know how the man knew he was here after all. Hard as a whole didn't understand what it all meant. "Your Highness secretly exposed the lair of those evil bastards. It was a secret mission, so I can't give you the details. I'm sorry for causing so much resentment. I don't know how to explain it all now. God, forgive my ignorance. I should have guessed it right away," said Maxim. As the prince looked away from Maxim for a second, Hard noticed that Chloe was hiding in Maxim's clothes. It all made sense to the prince now. He immediately realized that it was all his daughter's plan. Thus Hard turned from a handsome trash prince into an obscure, dark knight who risks his life for secret missions. As the prince rode with his assistant Maxim in a carriage to the palace, Hard immediately demanded that Maxim explain himself. "Well, it wasn't until after we arrived that I realized someone was sitting in the carriage with us. That stranger turned out to be my lady." Maxim began to explain himself. He was really telling it like it was. Chloe herself had personally wanted to go after her papa to warn him of trouble. "And since I couldn't take my lady with me, I decided to give her to the city guard for a while," explained Maximus. "But how come they stormed into the auction house?" Still didn't understand the girl's father. Something in his head was clearly not adding up. The little girl decided to intervene in their adult conversation. Maxim was about to explain himself, but the girl interrupted him. "Chloe told everyone!" The little girl shouted proudly and raised her hand as if she was a superhero. Chloe just noticed that Maxim was confused at first, too. As Maxim carried her in his arms so she wouldn't see the adult antics, he asked her why the girl had told the guards about all this in the first place. "But Daddy does all this stuff for the good of the people, right? So I wanted others to realize it too," explained the child. But Chloe was glad that Maxim understood and decided to play along with her. It was, of course, a little over the top, but still not bad either. "Now, Chloe, why did you follow me? Answer me." Already in a rougher tone, the father asked. At that moment, the girl was not in the least confused. "What is there to do? He got angry because I interfered in their affairs," thought the little girl. Then she decided in a quiet voice to confess what she had done. "I did it out of fear," said Chloe, and tilted her head innocently. "Of course you were scared. So why did you go to such a dangerous place yourself? If you were hurt—" Immediately began to speak father, who, unlike Chloe, thought about the consequences. But as it turned out, the girl did so for a completely different reason. She wasn't just scared of what she might get hurt, so she decided to explain it to her dad herself. "It's not like that. I was scared that Daddy would leave after me. Daddy's going somewhere at night. It's dangerous at night, so I followed him to protect him, and Daddy didn't even realize it." The girl continued to say in a sad tone, "Why would you protect me? As an adult, I'm the one who should be protecting you." Then inquired the father, who really didn't understand the little girl's intentions. Then Chloe raised her head. It was obvious that she was all in tears, and the child was about to have a tantrum. "I did it for the person I love. After all, there was nothing I could do when Mom left this world, and I was afraid I might lose you too." The little girl began to speak already more loudly to convey her intentions to the prince. "I thought I just wanted to save Hard, however. I've noticed how Hard's mood has improved noticeably over these past few days. So I thought about it, even unconsciously. But when I saw Hard's face looking at me with that cold gaze— oh no. He hates it when others cry, doesn't he?" In fact, at that moment, the main character, who had been reborn as a baby girl, reflected. "I can't believe I couldn't contain my emotions. Did I really turn into a real baby just because I got a baby body?" Still didn't understand what was happening to her, the girl. And yet, the little girl absolutely could not stop crying, which frustrated her even more, because her father doesn't like that. If I continue, Hard might leave me too, and then everything will happen again, thought the girl, who was scrolling through the plot of her past life, where she was abandoned by her mom. But of course, Hard was not an evil person at all. Therefore, he understood, and on the contrary, even accepted all the emotions of his child. The guy took the girl in his arms to calm her down a bit and ask the question that interested him the most. "So you followed me since you were worried that I might die?" the man asked, and the little girl's tears flowed in double volume. Still not getting an answer, Hard, seeing how much the girl was crying and worried at the same time, decided to pull her against him to hug the little girl. "Don't be afraid, I won't die that easily. That was the last time I did something like that, so you don't have to worry anymore," said the father as he continued to hug his beloved daughter tightly.